Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, I hope you are all doing well and you are focusing on studies during this long winter break. Now, if you remember, we are in the topic, we are dealing with the topic that is frictions and decimals. Frictions and decimals we are dealing with. Already we have provided you 5 lectures on the first part of the topic, that is frictions. Now in this lecture, that's lecture number 6, you can see it on the screen. Here it is, lecture number 6. So in this lecture we will deal with the second part, that is decimals. So today is our topic. Now since we have already concluded fractions, now today's our topic will be decimal and its types. We will now come to know what are decimal numbers and what are its types. Now as far as the decimals are considered, you can see here, जहाँ तक decimals का ताल्लुक है, they are having a strong link with the fractions. That's why the topic's name is fractions and decimals. So decimals you won't understand unless and until you will not go through fractions. Why? Because decimal is another way of writing fractions. So it's another way. Let me write here what are decimals. It is another way of writing fractions. But which fractions? Most probably we usually take the fractions having denominator ten, comma 100, comma 1000 and so on. So those fractions whose denominators are of the form, whose denominators contain 10, 100 and 1000 and so on, that is the powers of 10. 10 raised to the power 1, 10 raised to the power 2, 10 raised to the power 3, 10 raised to the power 4 and so on. That is, the denominator should contain only 1 and 0s. Those numbers we can convert such fractions whose denominator is either 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, lakh, 10 lakh. So those numbers we can convert into decimal numbers. And those fractions whose denominators are 10, 100, 1000, they we call decimal fractions. So before this, let me have some examples of decimal fractions. So decimal fractions I am writing here. Fractions having denominator 10, 100, 1000, so on. So in fraction we have dealt with decimal fractions, but now we came to know there are some fractions that we call decimal fractions. They can be proper, they can be improper as well. So decimal fractions are those fractions whose denominators are either 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, 1 and 0. The denominator should contain 1 and 0 only. Those numbers, those decimal fractions, we can convert them into decimal numbers. Now I am giving some examples of decimal fractions here. Example I am writing. I am writing 5 by 10. It is a decimal fractional number. Though it is proper fraction, but since its denominator is 10, we can call it decimal fraction. Next, I am writing 25 by 100. Next, I am writing 375 by 1000. So extra, you can give plenty of such examples where you can keep zeros more than 3 as well. That's not only up to 1000, it can carry on to 10,000, lakh, 10 lakh. So you can carry it on. Now we will come to decimal numbers. So what I have told you, decimals, what are decimals? Decimals, it is another way of writing fractions. So एक दूसरा तरीका fractional numbers को लिखना जिसमें हम fractional numbers को किसी दूसरे वे से लिख सकते हैं, उस way of writing the fractional numbers we call that decimals. So, and remember, these fractions, which we can write in another form, they should contain their denominator as 10, 100 or 1000. That is the power of powers of 10. Either 10 raised to the power 1, that's 10. 10 raised to the power 2, I'm writing here 10 raised to the power 1, that is 10. 10 raised to the power 2, that is 100, because 10 raised to the power 2 means 10 into 10. 10 raised to the power 3 means 10 into 10 into 10. That means 10 you have to multiply 3 times. It will be 1000. If you write 10 raised to the power 5, that means 10 you have to multiply 5 times. You will get 1 and how many zeros? 5 zeros. So any decimal number, any fractional number whose denominators contain such numbers in the denominator, जिनके denominators इस फॉर्म में होंगे, ऐसे फ्रैक्शनल नंबर्स को हम डेसिमल फ्रैक्शंस कहते हैं. वही मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा, डेसिमल fractions having denominator 10, 100, 1000, so on. Examples are 5 by 10, 25 by 100, 375 by 1000, etc. So remember, decimal numbers only came into existence when we are having first decimal fractions. Now we will carry on. Now let me just first rub this here. I'm rubbing this portion here. Now we are moving to the main topic, that is I'm writing here decimal numbers. Now what do you mean by decimal numbers? Decimal numbers usually are those numbers that consist of two parts. So numbers that consist of two parts, but these two parts will be separated by a point. Now, what are those two parts? For that, I will take an example. See here in decimal fraction, I am having a decimal fractional number 5 by 10. I am writing here 5 by 10. Now, I want to convert it into decimal number. It is actually a fractional number, but decimal fraction. Now, how to convert it into a fractional number? Whenever the denominator is 10, 100, 1000. Suppose, sir, we have a question if the denominator is not 10, if the denominator is not in this form. Can we convert that into fraction? Yes. How? We will come to know in the later part of this lecture. 5 by 10, whenever the denominator contains 10, 100, 1000, you have to write numerator back. Write up numerator back. Now, how many zeros are at the bottom? 1 0. Whenever we are dividing any number by 10, when you convert that into decimal number, what happens? Number के left side में decimal point पड़ता है. After how many digits? जितने number of zeros नीचे होंगे. नीचे एक ही zero है तो एक digit के बाद on the left side of the number you will get a point. Now it is 0.5. Since nothing is on, nothing is before the point, so you can put this 0. So it is 0.5. Now 0.5 here is the decimal number. We will come to its parts. Which part is called what? We will come to it later on. I will take one more example here. Let me consider 375. Let me cast 375 by 1000. I am writing 375 divided by 1000. Now let me convert it into decimal number. Now the denominator is in terms of 1 and 0. So let me write a numerator back. It is 375. Now how many zeros at the bottom? 3 zeros. That means I need 3 digits at the top. But I already have 3 digits. So after 3 digits, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I will put a point here before these 3 digits. Now nothing is before the point, so I can put 0. It is 0.375. Now this 0.375 is a decimal number. Now let me take one more example here. I am adding 2875 divided by 1000. Another decimal fractional number. Now I can convert it into a decimal number. How? Write the numerator back. 2875. Now how many zeros at the bottom? 3 zeros. It means you have to put a point after 3 digits starting from the right side. Right side start with the left side. 1, 2, 3. So here this will be the pointer. It will be 2.875. Since it contains 2 before point, you did not put the 0 here. Now this is another decimal number. Now in each case here, when we talk about the first part, first decimal number, here this 0, I call this 0 here, wait. See, here I call this 0 here. The digit before the point, I call it whole part. And the digit after the point, we call it fractional part. Or you can call the digit after the point a decimal part. In the same way, when I talk about this example here, this example, I will take it down here. Wait, sorry. Sorry. When I talk about this number here, I'm not taking the second one. चलो second one की बात करते हैं. We call this part here, the point, the part before the point, whole part, and the portion 375. This part is called as fractional part. Here in the third example, this part, the whole part, and the part after the point, we call it fractional part. Now the point that is in between, this point is called the decimal point. Here this point is called a decimal point. So that means here the decimal numbers that const of two parts. Which two parts? Whole part and fractional part. Separated by a point. But they will be separated by what? They will definitely be separated by a point. And you can see that point is called the decimal point here. You can see it here. It's called a decimal. Now, till now what we have done, decimals. Another way of writing the fractions having denominator 10, 100, 1000, so on. Then decimal fractions, those fractions having denominator 10, 100, 1000, so on. Then decimal numbers that consist of two parts separated by a point. वो नंबर जो दो पार्ट्स में डिवाइड हुए हो, जिनमें दो पार्ट्स इन्वॉल्व हो, लेकिन दोनों पार्ट्स सेपरेट होते हो किसी पॉइंट से. Now I have taken an example here. First 5 by 10, you can see it is 0.5. Now how to convert it? You have to put the decimal point after the number of digits. Number of zeros that are at the bottom. Denominator में जितने zeros होंगे उतने digit बाद numerator में आपको point डालना है. On the left side, starting from the right, going to the left side. Now the digit before the point is called the whole part. The digit after the point is called the fractional part. In the same way, 82,875 divided by 1000 I will take. Now the 2. Here it is called a whole part, and the portion of this number after the decimal is called the fractional part, or you can call it a decimal part. And the point in the decimal number is called the decimal point. So till now we have learned what are decimals, what are decimal fractions, and what are decimal numbers. Now we are carrying it on. We are moving to the starters. Now have a look. I'm having types of fractions. Sorry, types of decimals. There are as many types as we were having in the fraction. Here we hold only 2-3 types. Now I will take the first type here. It is like decimals. And then with that we will take unlike decimals. And that with that we will take one more, that is terminating decimals. Then there is one more that's non-terminating, but I am not going to carry on that because that's not in our syllabus. Even terminating is not in our syllabus. Now, like decimals, what are like decimals? See, I am writing a few decimal numbers. I am writing suppose 0.85, comma 5.39, comma 84.26, comma 33.41. We call it 41. You did not read it 41. Then 1009.21, 3022.43. So here are some examples of like decimals. Sir, how come we know that they are like decimals? Now have a look. Whenever it is like decimal, you have to focus on the fractional part. That is the decimal part of the number. The portion that lies after decimal. Decimal point के बाद जो portion आएगा उस पे focus करना. What is the portion after decimal point? 85. It is 39. It is 26. It is 41. It is 21. It is 43. What is common between these numbers after the decimal point? Whenever it is like decimal, you need not focus on the whole part. Whole part पे focus नहीं करना है. You have to only focus on the decimal part. Now, what you have to see in the decimal part? You have to see, is there the equal number of digits after decimal point? See, how many digits are here after decimal point? 2, 8, 5. Here, 3, 9, 2 digits. 20, 2, 6, 2 digits. 4, 1, 2 digits. 2, 1, 2 digits. 4, 3, 2 digits. So, whenever decimal numbers contain equal number of digits after decimal point, such decimal numbers are called like decimal numbers. So, like decimals here, I am writing the definition. Decimal numbers having equal number of digits after decimal point. Now, there shouldn't be any confusion regarding like decimals. Like decimals are those decimal numbers that contain equal number of digits after point. Now, unlike decimal, just opposite of it, I am posing an example here. I am writing few examples. These are the examples, and then I have placed the definition. Now, example here as well. I am writing 0.31. 5 5.375. If I talk about these two decimal numbers only, are they like? No. Why? The answer is their decimal part, that is 31 and 371, that doesn't contain equal number of digits of the decimals. So ये equal number of digits इनमें contain ही नहीं कर रहे, इसमें 2 है और इसमें 3 है. So whenever there are unequal number of digits in the decimal number, in 2 or more decimal numbers, we say that those decimal numbers are unlike decimal numbers. Now I am writing here decimal numbers having unequal number of digits after decimal point. Decimal numbers having unequal number of digits after decimal point. Now we will first learn about how to convert unlike decimal numbers into like decimals. If you remember the like fractions and unlike fractions, I have told you there that you can add and subtract only like decimal numbers. Sorry, like decimal fractions. You can add or subtract. In case there are unlike decimal numbers, you can add them, but there will be a huge confusion among the students unless and until you will not make it like. So it is better whenever you have to add or subtract unlike decimal numbers, what you will do? You will make them like. Now how to make unlike decimal numbers like? Now see here. Converting unlike decimal numbers to like decimal numbers. I will do the same example. Here I have given the example of 0.31 and 5.375. 0.31 and 5.375. They are unlike. Now I have to make them like. How? Haven't. You have to first see, you did not focus on the whole part. Whole part के समय कुछ लेना देना. All you have to focus on is the decimal part. How many digits does the first number, decimal number contain of decimal? 0.2. Here there are 3 digits. Now you have to convert the number that contains least digits in the decimal part into the number that contains maximum digits in the decimal part. Now in the two numbers, maximum number of digits in the decimal part is 3. So I will try to convert 2 digit into 3 digit. Now here I will convert this. How? It's very simple. 0.31 it was. Now putting the 0 on the extreme right side of the decimal, it hardly matters. It will not make any difference. जिस तरह बेटा पॉइंट से पहले होल नंबर अगर होता है, अगर उसको लेफ्ट साइड में 0 डालेंगे, सपोज आई एम 39, if I put a 0 on the left side, it will not make any difference, it will still be 39. But पॉइंट के बाद क्या होता है? पॉइंट के बाद दुनिया उल्टी हो जाती है. What actually happens? पॉइंट के बाद अगर आपने 30.31 है और आपने पॉइंट से पहले 0 डाला, it will make a huge difference. Why? You will come to know in this lecture later. You will understand this when we take the place value of decimal numbers. But if you take the same 0.31 and you will add a 0 on the right side of the number, its value will be same as 0.31 and 0.310 is same. You will come to know after few minutes you will come to know about this thing. Now 0.310 and now this number 5.375. Both these numbers which were initially unlike, now they are like decimals. They are like decimals. Now I will take one more example here. One more example I am taking is, suppose I am having 731.842 and 739.8427. Now you can see they are again unlike. Again I will try to make them like. Why unlike? Because after decimal point it contains 3 digits and this contains 4 digits. Before decimal point they contain equal number of digits, that is not necessary. Even if they contain unequal number of digits, suppose it would have been 5731. It is 4 digits, 3 digits. But before decimal point, whole part have nothing to do with like and unlike fraction. It is only decimal point that will make the decimal numbers either like or unlike. Now it contains only 3 digits, it contains 4 digits. So it is easy for me to convert, to put one more zero in the 3 digits after decimal. Now I will write here implies 5731.842. If I put 0 here, it will not make any difference. I have 4 digits now. And 739.8427. Now initially here they were unlike, but here now they are like decimals. So this is how we convert like decimals to unlike decimals to like decimals. Now the last one here is terminating decimal. Remember beta, there are some decimal numbers whose decimal exponent. The decimal exponent, that is the numbers that are coming after decimal point. जिनकी decimal expansion कुछ की खत्म होती है. Like these numbers, they are having terminating decimal expansion. लेकिन कुछ ऐसे numbers भी है जिनकी non terminating होती है. यानी जिनकी डेसिमल एक्सप्रेशन कभी खत्म ही नहीं होती, they क्या है नहीं, वो कौन से डेसिमल नंबर्स होंगे? वो डेसिमल नंबर्स होंगे जिनके डेसिमल फ्रैक्शन में 10, 100, 1000, 10,000 के बगैर कोई और नंबर आ सकता है, या जिनको हम 10, 100, 1000, 10,000 में कन्वर्ट नहीं कर सकते. ऐसे डेसिमल एक्सपेंशंस की डेसिमल नंबर्स की डेसिमल एक्सपेंशन खत्म नहीं होती है. लेकिन टर्मिनेटिंग डेसिमल एक्सपेंशन वो डेसिमल एक्सपेंशन होती है जिनकी डेसिमल एक्सपेंशन खत्म होती है. यानी जब उनको हम डिवाइड करते हैं उनके पॉइंट के बाद जितने डिजिट्स आते हैं, कुछ डिजिट के बाद वो मामला ही खत्म हो जाता है. लाइक हियर 0.31 एंड हो रहा है, 5.375 एंड हो रहा है. सो अगर एंड नहीं होता होगा तो एग्जांपल अगर मैं एक और लूंगा यहाँ पे नॉन टर्मिनेटिंग. आई विल टेक वन मोर एग्जांपल हियर ऑफ नॉन टर्मिनेटिंग. फोर्थ टाइप ऑफ डेसिमल नंबर नॉन टर्मिनेटिंग. आई एम राइटिंग non-terminating is one more type of decimal number. It's fourth one. But remember, terminating and non-terminating, they are not in those syllables. But I will give an example here. अभी मैंने लिखा था 0.31. If it is 0.31, it's terminating. खत्म हो रहा है. Divide करके कुछ आंसर, फाइनल आंसर आ रहा है, क्वेश्चन में 0. But if it continues, suppose 31, 31, 31, 31 और मामला खत्म ही नहीं हो रहा है, ऐसी डेसिमल एक्सपेंशन को हम कहते हैं नॉन टर्मिनेटिंग, जो खत्म ही नहीं हुई. इस तरह एक और एग्जांपल 5.854123, फिर से 854123, 8 5 4 1 2 3 एंड सो ऑन। ये कंटिन्यू ऐसे ही चलता जाएगा और कभी खत्म ही नहीं होगा। Such type of decimal expression is known as non-terminating decimal expression. Now, this marks the end of our first topic of decimal numbers, that is decimals and its types. Now, after that, we will come to know how to compare decimal numbers, and then after, in the same chapter, we will come to know how to operate decimal numbers. It will be most probably the next lecture, that is lecture number 6, lecture number 7, that will be the final lecture of this chapter. Then we will try in the same lecture, we will try to conclude few more important concepts that I have left out. I have told you in the first lecture that why a fractional number can't have denominator 0. उस पर भी बात करेंगे, वो भी हम नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में देखेंगे. सो आई होप यू विल वॉच all these lectures very keenly and you will keep all focus on these lectures. See you in the next lecture. That will be our final lecture of the topic. Till then, take care of yourself. Fi amanillah.